Hello, I'm Vince Steckler, CEO of Avast Software, who's the world's most popular consumer cybersecurity. I'm here to really talk about, should we be afraid of our microwave and other home appliances or not? So let's just dig into it. Is Obama spying on us through our microwaves? Is the NSA spying on us through our microwaves? And the answer really is not yet, but not because it isn't possible. Microwaves don't have cameras or microphones, but microwaves are connected to the internet, many of them are. If they had cameras or microphones, you could definitely use them to spy. Of course, we have all of this stuff called the Internet of Things going on, all these connected devices in our home and our workplace, etc. They bring a lot of convenience to our life, a lot of improved productivity. But what kind of security risk do they bring? Now, you all are quite technical. I mean, you know a lot about these devices, you use them, etc. And the market is huge. Jupiter Research is claiming nearly 40 billion such devices in the next several years are going to come online. So we know the potential is big. But other than all the publicized attacks we see now and then, what issues do we really have on this? There have been many things. Obviously, the stuff about the microwave, TV spying on you, the news coming out of the recent WikiLeaks papers on the CIA spying tool bag, etc. Is everything hackable? Is there anything that we need to really worry about? So, what does it really matter here? And we were interested ourselves. So we went out and researched it a bit. How many connected devices do people have in their home? I'm an anomaly. I probably have like 50. The average in this audience is probably like 10. But what is it really like in the world? What's it like in the U.S.? What's it like here in New Orleans? By the way, the average in the U.S. is around 5 connected devices, not counting mobile phones, computers, etc. In the world, it's around 4. Oops, sorry. So we went off and surveyed a large number of users to find out what they have. We've got TVs, thermostats, appliances, lights, locks, etc. And the penetration is still quite small. In the US, about 15% of people have smart locks or video monitoring cameras that are accessible over the internet. Same number had smart thermostats, smart lights. And about 9 or 10% had smart refrigerators, smart coffee machines, teapots, etc. And there's a huge gap between, do people care about security on these devices versus do they care about security on their computers and their phones? About 85% of Americans are really concerned about security on their PC or their phone. But as far as concerned about security on these devices, it's quite low. It's only 13%. And it's really because, what's the security risk of a smart light? Okay, a bad guy can turn the light on me, but what's the real harm? I can just go turn it off. So consumers pay very little attention to it. 70% of people say they're very proactive about securing the Windows devices, but only 30%, which to me seems quite high, said they're proactive about securing their Internet of Things devices. I think it's quite high because virtually no one has any idea how to actually secure them. Now, the US is a bit higher than the global average. 86% in the US say they care about PCs, 40% say they really secure their Internet of Things. But what does it really matter? What does it matter that these things can be hacked? And the fact of the matter is, cyber criminals love them because, these things are connected to our home networks or our business networks. And cyber criminals know that the weakest chain, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And this proliferation of IoT devices provides so many more attack vectors into a network. And think about it. Does the maker of a coffee machine pay attention to how good of a coffee it makes or how secure that thing is sitting on your home internet. And of course, they pay attention to the coffee. So these things can really be used against us. And the question then is, what can we do about it? Here in New Orleans, across the whole world, we detect about 3.5 billion attacks a month, of which about 6 million are ransomware, which is the popular thing these days to make people pay to get their information back. Here in New Orleans, we found that about 20% of households have connected devices. 20% of these webcams were hackable. 12% of printers were hackable. But startlingly, 60% of all home routers were hackable. Home routers are a tremendous way of breaking into a home network. And that's what we're going to demonstrate. I'm going to invite up on stage Philippe. Philippe is one of our eminent cyber researchers, security researchers. And we're going to walk through how you can hack this stuff quite easily. So we're going to start, as you see here, with a TV that's turned off. I don't actually live in New Orleans, but I know that there's probably a basketball game going with the Pelicans, and anyone who lives here knows that virtually no one watches it. So I'm not going to bother to turn on the TV to watch the basketball game. But we got a TV that's sitting here. We got a router. Brands don't matter. We can do this with any TV, any router, etc. And what Philippe is going to try to do here is he's going to execute a couple automated scripts here. And those scripts are going to be basically hack into the router. He's just going to do a simple password crack. Just a brute force attack on the password on the router. You'd be surprised how many people use very simple passwords on their routers, and he's going to crack the password. Now, of course, he probably already knows the password anyways, but he's going to crack it. And we can switch back. Switch to the PowerPoint, please. Okay, and he's going to run a couple scripts. One's is going to infect that router with malware. And then another one is going to now search for vulnerable devices, and it's going to find this TV, which has the ability of playing that Pelicans game. And it's going to deliver that video from his computer out there on the internet. You can see it playing up there on the PowerPoint, and it will eventually be on the TV. Okay, so we're playing it up there on the PowerPoint for you. Yeah, it's not a very exciting game. Okay, here we go. Here we go now. There we go. So we got the game up there. It's not at all very exciting. So what we do what any other fan does, and we turn it off. No. Okay. So we shut off the TV, see what happens. And probably what's going to happen here is that he has now, through his scripts, taken control of our router. He's basically reflashed the PROM of the router and loaded new control into the router. And now he's going to have complete control. So he can't hack the microwave yet, but he can definitely hack the TV, which you see here. And once he has access to that TV, he's got access to everything in the network. Every device you have on your network is now accessible. He can do anything he wants whatsoever, including he can, although Obama can't hack that microwave, Obama can actually get back in and force everyone in the country who's got a smart TV to watch Obama speeches instead of the Pelicans game. Very, very simple to do. Although Philippe is one of the best we have. The hackers in the real world are also damn good. This is a very simple thing to do. And here in New Orleans, with 60% of home routers being crackable by us or anyone else, it's simple. So how do we secure? How do we actually make things work? And it's really a few things. Number one, our devices must be secure by design. TV makers, coffee machine makers, etc., they have to be building in the security. And we actually tried to find a internet-connected microwave. There are internet-connected microwaves, by the way. But the only problem is we were not able to find a single one that actually has a microphone on them. But you can imagine in the future they will, because it would be great. You just tell the microwave, cook my popcorn for 1 minute, 30 seconds. So anything that's voice controlled obviously has a microphone, and microphones can be used for listening. So, regardless of, I think, a lot of what folks said, what Kellyanne Conway said was not at all outside the realm of possibility. In the future, it may be easy to spy on people through their microwaves or home appliances. Second, people just don't know that there's a risk or an issue. Who really thinks about how to secure their home network of all of these appliances? People know about the need to secure PCs, etc., because there've been issues for 30 years or 40 years with such malware, but they don't know it with the rest of these devices. And third, everyone and their brother, if you go to large conferences, everything there these days is IoT. There's so many IoT devices being flogged out there. But there's no consistent framework, there's no set of standards, there's no minimum requirements about what you need for security, etc. You have a lot of different proprietary networks. And unlike Windows, people like to beat up on Windows, but Windows is a pretty open operating system. Security vendors and others can tie into the operating system to provide security for the users, as opposed to, say, iOS, which is not. It's insanely difficult to do security on an iOS device. And it's not because they don't need it, but lots of what's happening in the IoT is in a similar vein. Companies want a closed ecosystem to have complete control over it. But when people build a heterogeneous environment in their home or their business, you need a framework to tie it all together to provide the security. And that's what we like to kind of get the industry to strive for. It's not difficult to do, but it's going to require a lot of cooperation across IoT makers, framework makers, folks like Google, Amazon, and then, of course, the security companies. And if we don't do that, then we should all be insanely afraid of our microwaves in the future. Thank you.